So we're starting in 10 minutes.
Now, all that being said, they can still hear this. But we only have one audio file anyway, so it's just gonna mess it up.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Just whenever you're talking to the speaker, just do sign language where you're like, and then like you'll do one of these, he'll go, or that's you. Take your time.
Yeah, but when I was at coffee hour at the church a couple weeks ago, and I was
the Yopaki team, Santiago and the Kardashev guys. Like, it really was a lot of hard work to get this down here, and so I appreciate everybody who put in the work to get it done. How much more time you got? It started? Okay. Cool. So this is our 4th startup day that we're doing here in Mexico City for the first time. So yeah, there's that. I'm going to do a quick little 5-minute kind of just introduction, nothing too heavy, but just want to kind of paint a picture of what PlebLab is, what Startup Day is, and overall what we're trying to accomplish today. So PlebLab is evolving. We've grown pretty big the past, I would say, year and a half when we started working with Wolf. Primarily what we're seeing now is just more and more founders and entrepreneurs are just coming our way. Jay is somebody who's presenting today who also came in a month ago to PlebLab to get his project in tip-top shape ahead of time for today's presentation. So we're doing it. We're making Bitcoin builders happen all over the world. We're doing our best to bring new people on. We're doing workshops, and this will be our 4th startup day, so we're doing the best we can with what we got. So really, it really is a pleb movement. So what is Startup Day? So this is kind of the question that I always get, like, what is Startup Day? It's not a technical conference. It's not that. There's technical stuff in there, but it's not that. It's for the people that are looking to find success in the Bitcoin ecosystem. What that is, it just kind of depends. If you want to be a FOSS developer that's looking for a grant, you should probably come to PlebLab. We can help you get there. If you want to be somebody who's an entrepreneur who wants to build the next Bitcoin exchange, come to PlebLab. We could probably help you get there. If you want to just be just a pleb who has no idea how to build anything but has tremendous tenacity and entrepreneurship skills and looking for like a CTO or something, come to PlebLab. We could probably help you get there. And that's the difference. Today is all about the people that are trying to build the future of Bitcoin innovation in our ecosystem. So these are the people that we have been cultivating for the past 12 months since Top Builder of last year. Some of the people that you're going to see here are from that Top Builder program. Some of them have actually surpassed my wildest expectations of what they have become. This is, in my opinion, the best of the best when it comes to people that are building on Bitcoin in the ecosystem right now. I don't think there is no second best. So how do we do this? People think that me and Teresa are just up here figuring it out, shooting from the hip. No, there's a method to our madness. And this, I want to go into this because I think there's a lot of people that are trying to do hubs all over the world, and this is the best way I know how to do it. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So what happens when a new founder comes to PlebLab? They're automatically plugged in. They're already well known to the Bitcoin community globally. They talk to the domain experts in PlebLab. These are the people that have already done what they're trying to do. There's a hive mind effect that happens here. There's a feedback loop. They integrate with the PlebLab community. From there, we try to get their project to generate revenue. Once they generate revenue, once we feel like they can generate revenue, we move them through our PlebLab media arm. What that is hackathons, Top Builder, startup days. And when we think they're finally at a right point, we then send them to the venture capital ecosystem. This also means like the NGOs that are out there, the OpenSats, the HRS. They either get a yay or a nay. If it's a nay, which that's okay. Constructive feedback, foundational improvement, you come back, PlebLab, and we do it all over again until we figure it out. At some point, they do raise, they get the experience, and then there's an interaction loop that happens to the rest of the Bitcoin community. And that's how that works here at PlebLab. So when people ask us, like, how do you do this? How do you create this? This took about 4 years to do. It's literally foundationally one thing at a time, every year trying to accomplish those things. The coolest thing about today is we're finally doing something that's end-to-end. For the first time ever, we have a builder who comes into PlebLab, goes through the Top Builder program, goes through our hackathons, goes to Startup Day, and now ends up on Pleb TV, which is we're controlling the whole experience of that builder journey. from end to end. It's a closed loop system that works. And I think this is the way forward to get Bitcoin to the masses. These are all the founders we've helped in the past. These are all the people that have given us tremendous feedback, mentorship, and then continue to help the PlebLab community. I want to talk about Francisco and Sydney real quick, because I think this will kind of explain why we do what we do. So I met them in 2021. Francisco was just a pleb who had a vision to build a Bitcoin exchange in Mexico. At the time, I was thinking, I was like, this guy's crazy, but I like his spirit. There's something about him. He's charismatic. I think he can do it. Let's make it happen. From there, it's been all him and his wife trying to figure this out. I don't know how y'all do it. I don't like, maybe one day we'll read that book, but it's tremendous to see his journey from coming into PlebLab, what he's gone through personally and everything, and then building the ecosystem, and then finally getting to a point where he's about to talk about what he's going to talk about here next. But I just want to give a hats off to Francisco. I think he's a perfect example of like what it is to go through a PlebLab kind of curriculum. And we still have a long way to go. We plan on doing this the rest of our careers. So in time, we'll get better and we'll innovate and we'll kind of go that route. But just want to give a shout out to them. And with that, I'll shut up and we'll let the builders do the talking now. Cool.
Let's give it a second. Oh, it's doing something weird. We good now? Ok. Voy a empezar en español, primero que nada porque estoy en el país en el que nací, en el país en el que crecí. Tengo invitados que son familiares y amigos. And just the translation is, I felt the need to open up in Spanish because this is a place where I was born, where I was raised, and I do have some close friends and family visiting this special day. I can tell that a lot of you are really eyeing the title. I know it sounds aggressive, but it's real, and this was inspired actually by my wife. She knew what I was going through as I was trying to present. And for the record, the rest of the presentation will be in English, but there will be a translation if need be. So, adapt or die. I think specifically for me, I'm addressing the founders, my fellow founders that I work with every day. And I think it applies in more stages than just a startup, but specifically today, I want to focus on every one of the founders. I know it seems like we're exchanging roses, but at the end of the day, I do have to give credit to PlebLab. As Carr mentioned, a couple of years ago, I was just a pleb who moved to Austin, wanted to build something, and between Carr and Kyle, they pretty much hugged me and said, hey, we like you, we like your vision. We don't really know where it's gonna go or how you're gonna get there, but you seem to be the person that could potentially withstand all the many steps and falls that happen in the journey. So not only that, you mentioned it, but this is now my 4th consecutive startup day that I'm participating in one way or another. And as of today, PlebLab becomes an international Bitcoin institution. So I'm really proud of you too, man. A round of applause. Also, on a personal note, you mentioned it too. I didn't know you were going to talk about it, but I do feel like it's a full circle moment for the journey we've taken as Yopaki. I'll talk about it more, but I feel like it's pretty special to be able to support PlebLab this time around, given all the crazy changes that happen and accommodations and weeks that change day in and day out, and just to be able to talk and say, hey, I need your help. Can you step in? So to give back this way, to me, that's pretty special. So that's just something that, again, presenting in front of the people I love and the people I work with, in such a moment like this, in the country where I was born, is something special. So again, thanks for putting this together. Didn't mean to get emotional there, but that's just who I am. There's a few takeaways that I do want to share from prior startup days. And the three top from my personal experience, talking to you, the founders, came from Parker Lewis, from formerly Unchained and now Zapright, who said, TLDR, for the record, if you don't know what TLDR means, it's just too long, did not read, give me the short version of what the talk was. Parker Lewis talked about the importance of building in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and one of the first things we should focus on is build something that doesn't exist, something that you are interested in. Otherwise, if there's no passion, it doesn't really matter. So to me, that was very important. The second one is Keon from Stacker News. And if you know Keon, what I'm gonna read is gonna make you laugh, and if you don't, hopefully you can understand what he was getting to. But Keon, at one of the startup days, he talked about the only way you can truly become a founder is by making everything else out there, everything, be the most painful thing possible. So what does that mean exactly? Being a founder is a 24-hour job, passion, love, work, hobby. It really goes day in and day out. The phone doesn't get disconnected, the computer's always at bay, there's always phone calls, texts. So that's what he meant. If you don't like that, if you want to show up to work, clock in and clock out, a startup is not for you, and that's okay. But as a founder, that's something I really understood from what Keon was talking about. And lastly, the most recent startup day was given by Andre from Zebedee, whose topic was being a founder sucks. And yes, he did talk about all the terrible things that happen, things that go wrong, investors telling you you're gonna fail, family telling you you're gonna fail, maybe stop working on this hobby, move on to something else. And this happens day in and day out. So given this, I wanted to build on top of that and continue on the same topic, but from my personal experience, which is you adapt or you die. A little bit about myself. If you don't know my past, I'll share that in maybe 30 seconds, but as you know, Francisco Chavarria, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Yopaki, and that's my Twitter handle. I still refuse to call it X. And just sharing my fiat resume. I probably have one of the most fiat resumes that exist in the Bitcoin ecosystem. At one point, I worked in the payment card industry. That means I was close to banks and the payment processors. Later on in life, I moved into marketing technology and social media analytics, which means surveillance, social media listening. And later on, I worked for a corporate social responsibility tech company, which means ESG and all that stuff that we know is a scam. So if we combine these three, we have a super fiat resume. So ironically, I held different positions at all these companies at different times, whether it was an SDR or an account executive, director, vice president, and I was responsible for go-to-market strategies for these companies in Latin America. After doing that multiple times for some of these companies, it was time for me to say, I'm sick of doing this for others, not to mention it's a scam. So what can I do? And following Parker Lewis's advice, I thought, oh man, it would be amazing if there was a Bitcoin-only exchange that serves the Mexican population. There are exchanges in Mexico, by the way. There's many, and there's one that's really big who's great, but it's not Bitcoin-only. So fast forward, and that's when I met my co-founder, Carlos. I don't know if he's here, but he's in the back, okay? As Carl mentioned, I met Carlos, also Mexican-born, because of the connection with PlebLab. I met Carlos because of a friend we have now, mutual friend, Tony from Mutiny, and he made this relationship possible. We talked, we got really excited, and I don't know if you remember, Carlos, but we were really pumped to build. Really, really pumped. One of the first mistakes we made at the beginning was that we announced that we were building something when we really didn't have anything. So we were really pumped to build. And that was the first time we died. That was the first time we died. A couple of months passed. We had no interest from investors. No one really knew who we were. we were just a couple of plebs hanging out in Austin. So we had to adapt or die. And what did we do? This is now going back a year and a half. How can we generate buzz? How can we make something out of nothing that we currently have? So, as Steve Jobs would say, we started thinking differently. At the time, Mexico had never had a Bitcoin-only conference that was non-technical. Nifty Nate did throw a Bitcoin++, but many people in the country had talked about, oh, we should do a Bitcoin conference one day, this and that, and it never really happened. So one of the things that Carlos and I decided to do was call it the Block Party, that eventually evolved into a bunch of shenanigans that people still talk about today. As you know, one of the things we did during exactly a year ago was not just the conference, which we hadn't originally thought as a conference, but we flashed the Central Bank of Mexico, which I think at this point most of you in the room have seen it or you were there. I can see Lynn smiling in the back. So just a quick recap. Some of the plebs who took part in our crazy BitSignal adventure in 2023. And it was really fun because it was spreading all over the news. Bitcoiners projected image of Bitcoin in the Bank of Mexico. The message of hope fix the money, fix the world. And altogether between Diario Bitcoin, Bitcoin Magazine, Crypto Noticias, and Bitcoin News, we generated over 3.2 million impressions, which is pretty cool for a bunch of plebs. So, once again, we were so pumped to build. So now we have an idea to build an exchange, and we've created a conference that has never been done before. Oh man, we're really on a roll. That was death number 2. We get back to Austin, really excited, still not making any money. Everything's being funded by, executive wife and maybe bootstrapping it from our savings. And this is when really, I think as a founder, we all go through different times and journeys, but as a founder, you really have to pivot and you have to think and be able to listen to those around you. For us, we have a privilege to live in Austin, where PlebLab and all the Bitcoiners that build always give you advice. Adapt or die. So once again, let's circle back. How can we connect culture to make something special out of what we think is going to be something one day? So think different. Well, few countries are as deeply connected to its culture as Mexico is. And again, some of you have seen it, but for those that haven't, we were invited to give a talk during adopting Bitcoin in El Salvador, and this is where we made the announcement of a game. This game, everybody in the country knows it. I can certainly say that 99.999% of Mexicans know what Loteria is. And in other talks, I've talked about the history of Loteria. I'm not gonna do that today. You can find it on Pleb TV, on YouTube, Twitter, but Loteria is the most iconic game that exists in the country, and it has been around for centuries. So we're giving it the Bitcoin treatment. We presented this during El Salvador, only a prototype. At this point, there's no app. It's only the idea. And some of the early Bitcoin, or some of the early testimonials we received had us really excited. Oscar from Fountain said, "It looks like you have found something that appeals to all, and that's pretty special. I'm excited to see where this goes." Andrew from Blink, formerly Galoy, "Wow, this is super fresh." Michael from Moshi, "This is a game changer, very refreshing." Anna, I don't know if you know Lightning Ventures, that's Muzz's wife. "How the F did you think of this? I love it." Then we have Will from Bitfinex, an Asociación de Bitcoin in El Salvador. "Way fun, my daughter has asked me if there's games like this," and so on and so on. And Kiyon from Stacker News, "It's gonna be huge." So receiving this feedback, once again, gets us going into, oh man, we found it. We have now the idea of building an exchange. Now we have a conference in Mexico, and we've created a cultural connection that gamifies our experience. So pumped to build, guys. So pumped. So you know what's coming. That was our death number 3. And at this point, this death was different because we started hearing people telling us, "Hey, you are on the right track, but you still have to find something else." And that something else is not something people tell you or share with you about. You have to come up with it. As a founder, you have to dig deep. I'm pretty sure Carlos had nights where he thought, "You know what, this is probably not gonna work. Maybe Francisco can find another CTO." And I wouldn't blame you for it, but but we stuck with it. This time, it wasn't so much an adapt or die. At this point, we felt like we just needed to adapt, and we're on the right track. So what happened next? What can we take, or how can we take the next step? Think different, we're on the right track, but we need a push. And this push came from our friends, again, at PlebLab. Top Builder was a one-of-a-kind event that brought a lot of us together. And I'm gonna run through some of the events that led to, I had never been part of a hackathon, but in my experience, it wasn't just a hackathon. It was a 3-month competition where we had one-on-ones with other builders who have gone through the same process. I mean, the type of exposure we received from marketing experts from New York, from the team at Wolf, was very, very special. We made it to the finals. Carlos flew into Austin. The reason I took this picture is because we pulled an all-nighter. This picture on the left was taken at around probably 4 in the morning. I don't know if you remember this, probably not. We're still experimenting with prototypes, no longer just sketches from El Salvador. At this point, for Top Builder, we have a working app. Then the next morning, we're testing it as we prepare for our presentation. Picture right here, he's not here, he couldn't make it, but Darren has been a fundamental part of Yopaki as well. The smile you see on Carlos is because the app was working. We presented, and we were fortunate enough to win Top Builder. We have the D word again, but this time it's not death. This time it's development. What happened from Top Builder carried on into pretty awesome things afterwards. We were invited by Bitcoin Magazine to be part of the conference in a space that was unique. They had never done something like this before. I don't see Shopster today, but I know they took part on this too. We were featured on CNBC. We were interviewed by Mackenzie Segalos. And from that, there were a lot of other things that rippled from the experience we had. So I'm happy this is the first time we share it publicly. A lot of you already probably know, but the breaking news is that all of these events led to an official raise. We've closed our pre-seed round as of a couple of weeks ago, which means now we get to go build what we've been saying we were gonna build for the last couple of years. But what's next? At the end of the day, this messaging is not to just say, hey, look at us. It's more of a sharing of what I see some of us are going through. We have made incredible friendships and partnerships. For example, Oliver from Jippy has become a fundamental part of what we build, both from the partnership standpoint and from the design standpoint. And if it had not been for PlebLab Startup and Top Builder, this had not happened. So what's next for us is basically getting everyone in the country to try our app into the gamified aspect of it. We are in the process of getting a fintech license. I have people in the States that are helping us with that, or people in the audience. So I'm really grateful for you and for this help. I do want to go through a founder advice checklist as you continue your journeys. And it's, to be honest, it's for us too, because we still haven't achieved anything. So every day we have to wake up and say, hey, pat your back, you pat my back. Learn to adapt. So as you might have noticed, in the startup world, a lot of things go wrong. Conversations go in different directions, partnerships shift sideways, and we can either just run away and close shop, or we have to adapt. But there's another layer to that, which is you gotta learn to adapt quickly. If things do go wrong, we gotta make decisions fast. And if we make mistakes along the way, that's okay too. Ultimately, that's the way we get faster at making better choices. The next one is you'll get very uncomfortable. VCs, as Carlos knows too, will ask the worst questions you can imagine, but at the end of the day, they're the types of questions that help you understand your business in a way that you probably didn't think of. This is probably a cliche, but get comfortable being uncomfortable. So if I have another conversation with a VC or with someone that is interested in doing business with us, that really tough question from 3 months ago, I can master it today. And I can dominate it, and I can show that I really know my business. Looks like I had another one in there of a checklist. Now this one, you guys know where this is going, right? A really important piece of advice. This one comes from Odell very frequently, but it's stay humble. We gotta stay humble. A couple of weeks ago, I think, I had a sit down with Carr after we had raised, and I said, hey, could you do me a favor? If at any point you feel like I come in the office and there's something off, or you feel like I'm not the Francisco that has been building, please tell me, because sometimes we lose sight of that. So far, I haven't received that talk, so I think hopefully we can keep it that way. And this is a classic too. I believe that every founder in this room is pretty special just to make the trip. I know we have people from Boston. I know we have people from Austin. I don't know if Shopster's gonna make it today, but at the end of the day, making a trip into such a chaotic city, which I love, I was born and raised here, but it's a pretty chaotic place to be. Having to deal with so many difficulties, things are harder in this country, that's a fact. So, unless we execute, and you probably know who said this, ideas are worth nothing unless executed. One of my favorite talks Steve Jobs gave was how everybody has ideas, but it's the difference between having the idea and the execution. There's a gigantic gap. And of course, the founders fall under this block of taking that execution. It doesn't mean it's gonna work, but the execution part is so important to be able to build on top of that. The spirit of we'll figure it out is very unique to the startup phase and to founders. I know we're all comfortable here and it's a lot of fun, but backstage, there's a lot that goes on to make this podium be here, to have banners, to have food, to have people accommodations into Roma Norte. It takes a lot, and a lot of things come up. So it is up to the founders to figure it out. This is one of my favorites too, the I've got it mentality. So in big companies, there's a hierarchy of maybe 20, 30 people we have to go through. If I want to get something approved, I have to get through bureaucracy. But as a founder, Carlos sometimes plays the role of CTO, CFO, Uber driver, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of times I do take the role of CEO, CMO, social media strategist, networker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is pretty unique to our journey. This one's a tough one. This was really, really tough because we meet so many people in this space and we shake hands with people everywhere, and keeping your cool is difficult because problems arise. Differences of opinion arise. Keeping your cool, not insulting each other, I think takes us to a next level of what a founder really is. And I mean, from personal experience, I've heard, oh wow, you always keep your cool. And I have responded by saying, well, maybe ask my wife. But keeping your cool is a really important advice I could provide as well. The team, I think it speaks for itself. If you're a solo founder, then I mean, there's I guess nothing except hiring phase. But finding the right team to put up with all the difficult things that come in starting a company is crucial, because that's the team that's gonna take you to the next step. Optimism is huge for us too, because so many things go wrong, so many people tell you no, so many doors get shut in your face. Optimism is, I think it's probably one of my favorites. This next one pretty big too, and this is really exclusively for the founding team, depending on the stage that you're all at, whether you have employees or not. Momentum. If you have any type of momentum, it is the founder's responsibility to keep that momentum and stretch it as long as you can. Because once you lose that, it's really difficult to come back to it. You can do that in many ways. For example, partnerships, friendships, conferences, parties. I mean, I can think of many more, or I cannot think of many more right now, but you get the gist of it. there was someone that I cannot name, but someone that said this to me I don't know, maybe 6, 7 months ago. And at the time I didn't really understand it, but some of the things that have happened since reassured and basically made sure that, yes, Carlos and I have to keep going every single day. Have a strategy. This one sounds pretty obvious, but when you are facing VCs asking you those questions, you have to know your business up and down. You have to project 1 year, 5 years, sometimes even 10 years into the future. One of the things we've learned too is that the VCs that really pay attention to the founders that have a vision is, are you looking for a quick exit, or are you really seeing this as your possible 5, 10-year career? Be obsessed about what you do. This is incredibly important too. Like I said, we eat, sleep, drink Bitcoin, but then on top of that, having the business and make sure that what are we gonna tweet today? How are we gonna tell people about our app? How are we gonna get people to the conference? Hey, some things changed. How are we gonna go to another city? How are we gonna just improvise? Be obsessed about what you do. And just in case, I don't know if I did go too long, but adapting comes in multiple shapes. I'm not highlighting every single point I made, but if I had to just write a quick checklist of some of the things that you as founders can focus on and adapt, would be the offering. Your offering might change. Product or service might change. The teams might change. We started as a team that has changed over the last year. Strategy might change. The timing might not be perfect for what you're trying to build. And it's okay. It's okay. You just have to understand and adapt based on that. The financing, sometimes you can bootstrap, and if you run out of money, you have to get creative. I know we've talked about this at PlebLab. There's a lot of creativity involved in the financing aspect of keeping your startup alive. And finally, adapt to no's. The first time you hear a no, just like asking a girl out, it's brutal. It's brutal. It's painful. But the more you hear it, it's just another day at the office. Because you can feel comfortable into not just listening to no, but say, no, I get it. It's a no, but I need the feedback. I'm really trying to build on top of this, so I wanna know why it's a no. Okay, that's great. Something that has worked really good for Carlos and myself is not just the feedback, but maintaining those interested in us to keep them updated on the things we're doing. This will be my list of adapt or die. So go out there, adapt and build. Let's fucking go. Thanks, guys. Who's next?
Good morning. Bienvenidos los emprendedores. In inglés, the entrepreneurs. Because you are the builders in this room, but I think of that from a business perspective, because you can have a concept, an idea, and a project, but to bring it to fruition and embody the dreams and hopes that you have, perhaps not just for yourself, but for your family and your community, you need to know how to build a business. And that is part of what PlebLab does, and that's part of what we wanted to come together for this community and with our friends here in Mexico City, because it's part of just meeting people in this room that 6 months from now, a year from now, will make a difference in your life or your business. So thank you for being here. Thank you for those who are watching online or after this presentation, because I think you will learn a lot today or be inspired yourself to go and create. So welcome. No tengo muchas palabras en español, pues hablo en inglés. Necesito practicar. My name is Teresa, and I work with PlebLab. I help Car a little bit more on the business side, some of the core behind-the-scenes stuff, help our entrepreneurs, people in our accelerator, as well as other of our businesses, just to kind of prepare and plan what they're doing or think through some of the less exciting things, such as, should I get a lawyer now, or is it too expensive and I'll wait a year or two from now when it actually could be even more expensive. So little things like that. But today I'm going to be emceeing and helping bring up some of the builders on stage and later the presentations that we'll have this afternoon. And I'll also talk a little bit about lunch. We have someone very special from Texas who has taken his food preparation and his business desire to grow a catering business, I think there's a better way to put it, based on heritage. And he'll come and share that with you, not only to talk about his business, but also to tell you a little bit about what you'll be having and enjoying today for lunch. We get to enjoy grass-fed beef, Texas beef, prepared by this chef. His name is Johnny Ochoa, and he does a terrific job, so I think you'll really enjoy that. 2 points of order that I must express. Apparently, los baños próximo, they don't want us using those as frequently, but I think if you wander over there and go on in, yeah, just go. But if for some reason there's a deterrence or a line, if you go down the steps, around to your left and to the first door of the Peach building, so you'll go around a restaurant area, there's another building, the first door will lead you to the bathrooms there. Okay? And I thought there was another point of order, but I forgot it. So let's get on with talking about why we're here. Oh, I should thank Free Texas News. So this is being live streamed on freetexas.news. And if you want to support Sean, it's being live streamed with Free Texas News. Go to freetexas.news to support Sean Dunn, who's doing yeoman's work of a lot of the technology work today. It's also being streamed on plebtv.com/startup day. I'll repeat that for those who are online, or maybe if you want to share it on our socials, plebtv.com/startup day. So you've heard from Carr, and as I lightly mentioned, one thing I would add to Francisco's terrific presentation is, because I do some work with lawyers, I would encourage you, if you're a builder, if you're getting started early, consider at least brainstorming with an attorney and possibly speak to more than one, because you'll have questions about contracts and employment. And if and when you get to the point in time for employment, I'm not sure how the laws might work here in Mexico, or if you're from a different country, but in the US, if you hire somebody and they really should be paid under salary program versus an hourly wage, and you get those crisscrossed, it can cause very significant problems from the government coming in and saying you're not paying them correctly. And that's just one example of having a friend in your corner who understands those things and can be a trusted advisor. I encourage you to go look for those kinds of people on your own, and PlebLab can also help you with some of those connections as well. Next, to get things going and possibly back on time. We'll see. We'll be hearing from G. Where did he go? Oh, he's in the back. G is a good friend of ours from San Antonio, Texas. So we're very pleased to have him here. He is the CEO of Alamo Labs, recently started. Prior to that, he was a founder of the San Antonio Bitcoin Club. So if you would, he's got a lot to tell you about the growth that they have already achieved and that they anticipate. So if you would welcome up G.
Just let me know, Car, just let me know, like the time. Okay, no, the time, that was 10 minutes, yeah. 10 minutes, time. Won't need long. You ready? All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming out today. First and foremost, I want to thank God for everything. Look where we're at. You know, as a builder, entrepreneur, founder, I thank him for the ups, downs, everything. Also, none of this would be possible without him. Second, I'd like to give a huge thanks to Yopaki and PlebLab for making this all happen. The city is proof of work itself. I can see why Francisco is so bullish on Bitcoin in Mexico, and it's beautiful to see the culture taking it in. So, who am I? My name's G, and I am the founder of Alamo Labs. Granted, my presentation isn't going to be as sexy as Francisco, but it's a PowerPoint. It's to get the point across, right? So we're based out of San Antonio, Texas. So right now, we're at an interesting time for our city. San Antonio is the #2 cybersecurity city in America behind DC right now. So we have a lot of talent. We're also the first technological city you reach in the States when you come through the southern border. So we have a lot of culture and a lot of tech, and that's something a lot of cities don't have in America. Also with that, recently, we became
While sailing ships used to need 2 months to cross the Atlantic, by the late 19th.
we became a new hub of entry for the Americas. I spoke on this on South by Southwest. Started in the port of New York. The last couple decades, it was Miami. And now we're seeing it happen in Texas, specifically South Texas, San Antonio, Austin area. So with that being said, what is Alamo Labs? We're a hub of innovation. So how are we a hub of innovation? Well, we believe in innovation through education. With that being said, beginning here in October, we'll be rolling out some of our workshops, which will consist of our FOSS series with one of our partners. So we'll be educating on everything free and open source, hands-on workshops, getting new tools into the developers' hands in San Antonio that may not know they exist. Also with that, in working with PlebLab, we plan on bringing on PlebDev Austin himself. PlebDev Austin himself to start teaching Bitcoin courses and teaching educated devs how to build with Bitcoin. Aside one, we'll be doing Noster. This is just fun tech, just playing around, but it is tech that the devs down there don't mess with yet. And it's free and open source, and that's part of our ethos with what we're doing with Alamo Labs. And also, last but not least, our San Antonio Bitcoin Club just got accredited through Meet Premier Bitcoin to start rolling out Bitcoin diplomas. So, with that being said, our headquarters is downtown, heart of San Antonio at Geekdom. We will be having a classroom sponsored by them, so I just want to say thank you to them. With us doing this, we are the only nonprofit organization in Texas that's accredited to give these Bitcoin diplomas. So with that being said, we just hope to give these tools to the devs in San Antonio and see what innovation comes out of there. For we believe over the last couple decades, devs have been using the same tools, so there has been no innovation. In Bitcoin, you're seeing that because devs are building with tools outside the box. So that's what we're here to present to San Antonio. And along with that being said, what we're doing here today, it's historical. People are going to talk about this and write about this. San Antonio, here at Alamo Labs, we're just here to be the bridge between Austin and Mexico City. Yeah, and with that being said, I also like to say, closing it out with this, so it's not sexy, again. But the way I see it is, now that you have PlebLabs, you have Alamo Labs, and Casa de Satoshi, we formed this spear now, the way I see it. In San Antonio, they're calling it the Texas Triangle, South Texas Triangle. But the way I see it is Austin, San Antonio, Mexico City now with builders hubs. So Austin leading the way on this spear, it's gonna pierce the veil of fiat that we see consuming the world. And that's the fiat. That's the nasty fiat. And we're just gonna, all three cities and all three builders hubs, I think we're just gonna push the new age into the digital era on a Bitcoin standard. So with that being said, thank you very much. If anybody's ever in San Antonio or in Texas, please come by. It's the last city you're gonna get a good taco in, I promise you that. So thank you very much.
I'm on? Yeah, awesome. It's me again. Thank you, G. We really appreciate that. It's good to hear what's going on in San Antonio. One of the schools I went to was in San Antonio, so I like to keep watch on what they're doing down there, and he has done a tremendous job. For those of you who are builders in the room, wanted to let you know that we have somebody here from Bitcoin News. His name is Juan, so you may see him walking around taking some photos, and I'm sure he would be interested in speaking with you after you make your presentations, perhaps before. So feel free, if you have any questions, come see me. And let's see, we have two speakers coming up. The first is Justin from Shock Wallet. Justin is CEO and founder of Shock Wallet, and he comes to us via video. Ready?
There you go. So it's funny because you'll see here.
Hola, mis amigos. Lo siento, no pude estar ahí en persona. Y además mi español es una mierda. I'm Justin, the founder of Shocknet. I've been building high leverage technical systems for over 20 years and discovered Lightning in 2018. It really captured my attention as a libertarian, knowing its potential to disintermediate commerce, make it peer-to-peer and native to the web. I've been researching and building on Lightning since I discovered it, but in the last year, thanks to some incredible partners, I've been able to apply that effort full-time to architect solutions that take it to the next level and deliver on that potential. One of the things I've learned since building in Lightning is that Lightning sucks. Progress has been extremely slow. Infrastructure 5-6 years later is still objectively bad. And despite all the friction that exists in the fiat system, we haven't won over the users that we would like to see because we've replaced that friction with technical friction. Naysayers in Lightning are really no different than the naysayers of Bitcoin that came before them. They have extremely high time preferences that allow them to make some accurate observations in the short term, but the low time preference big picture eludes them. We still have a mission to accomplish. The world is not thriving right now, and the way we exchange money is just as big a part of that as the way we save money. And because the mission is so real and so vast, we have an equally vast landscape to look around and glean insights from failures and non-solutions. When I look around, I don't see that Lightning sucks. I see that Lightning apps suck. And this is probably no different than the personal computer era or even the internet era before that. Just because the technology wasn't being applied in the best way doesn't mean the underlying technology had no merit. I think Lightning is at a very similar phase to the early internet and the early personal computer, in that we just need the correct application for it to become distributed and for people to take advantage of all that it offers. At ShockNet, we've been building a number of different tools, different components that go into Lightning apps in an effort to help nudge them in the right direction. In the last several months, though, we decided to step back and focus heavily on kind of the base infrastructure, because Lightning wallets themselves are still quite bad. Since we focused on Shock Wallet, we've already made it the easiest to set up in a sovereign way for not just the individual, but their family. And we do this leveraging Nostr as kind of a overlay network, or you might even call it Lightning's layer 3. This has given us the ability to make the most powerful node management solution in Lightning Pub that runs underneath and on your home node and is accessed by Shock Wallet over Nostr. This has also allowed us to integrate some really innovative client features in Shock Wallet by leveraging a Lightning Pub over Nostr. This has also allowed us to introduce 2 new NIPs for Nostr-powered payment protocols, which I'll go over shortly. The goal here is that we have faster Lightning wallets that are more reliable, that are more accessible to people, and are cost-conscious. The first challenge we have to overcome with making better wallets is reimagining how they're architected. Things have gone in the direction of the node on phone because installing an app is arguably the easiest way to get a node running. And this is in large part due to legacy internet baggage. Setting up a server like with SSL certificates and IP4 addresses has really made it not feasible for the average person to set up a server, which is ultimately what a Lightning node is. We rethought that, and with a very simple script in Nostr, we've made Lightning Pub the easiest node to set up. As little as 2 minutes, you can copy and paste one line from our GitHub. It'll download a Lightning node and all its dependencies and stand up a Lightning Pub on top of it, connected to Nostr. Then, onboarding to the wallet is as simple as copying, pasting an M profile. I demoed this in Nashville and was kind of not surprised to see the reaction. Some pretty average folks, doctors, truckers, wanting to share a Lightning node with their kids or grandkids, were people in line to discuss it further. The demand is out there for people to run Lightning nodes. There's a demand out there for family Lightning nodes. We talk a lot about scalability in Lightning, but the reality is there's only 300 or so million businesses in the world and less than 1 billion households. You share a house, you share a car, you share a refrigerator. It's a logical extension of that families will also share Lightning nodes. Understanding this begins to solve a lot of the problems that we've seen with Lightning. An always-on server is much more reliable than a node needing to spin up on the phone that's often going to be out of sync with the graph and have a number of other issues. It can't be reached because it's frequently offline, and it's cost ineffective because the cost of that channel to one device is a very wasteful use of space on the blockchain. By promoting shared family nodes, that cost of that channel is being reused infinitely more. This is better for LSPs, provides a more reliable, cost-effective user experience, and each family running a Nostr-powered server creates a lot of scaffolding for some other features I'm about to show you. It's also important to remember that the small business is very often a family business. It's family businesses and individual entrepreneurs that benefit the most if we successfully make Bitcoin a worldwide means of exchange. Getting these tools into households and small organizations is the key to realizing that vision of a peer-to-peer, disintermediated, permissionless economy that benefits everybody. Connecting the wallet via Nostr to the Lightning Pub account server also gives us a lot of different utility to provide in a management suite. Unlike a mobile node where you have to make the management accessible to every user, this is targeted a little bit more towards that one power user in a family or organization. And because it's tailored to them, we can give them the tools they need rather than trying to abstract away complexity for everybody. Their users will experience a very simple wallet, but they will have the control to manage their node effectively and by using Nostr, leverage it as an account system to share that node as easily as they share any other link. And just like we used automation to help that power user set up the node, we provide automation that helps them operate the node. Because we're not so focused on abstracting away the complexity, we can simply help these users understand the complexity that is in front of them and help them make intelligent decisions. One of my favorite features personally with this architecture is having one wallet in all the places. Because we're using Nostr to connect to a root node, we can also use Nostr to connect devices to another in sync state. What I'm showing here is a video demo of my physical phone and a web browser on my laptop. As you can see, I have a payment coming in, and it comes in simultaneously on both devices. Now, that's not just because they're both using the same back end, but there's actual wallet state. The local storage on a device is being synced from the browser on the desktop to the phone. This includes things like preferences and maybe different nodes that I connect to, exchange rates, all that stuff that people have become accustomed to in the cloud environment now is available in Nostr apps and Lightning apps that use Nostr as a third layer. And just in case you thought we weren't Nostering hard enough, we introduced a couple new Nostr protocols that are oriented towards better Lightning payments. NIP69, or Nostr Native Offer Strings, provides an alternative to LNURLP, which, as you may know, is what powers Lightning addresses. It's also for similar use cases as to Bolt 12. Now, because it uses Nostr, it's much more performant than Bolt 12, as it doesn't rely on onion messages, which are basically a re-implementation of Tor. It's also more private, since the Nostr keys used for the communication are completely untied to the Lightning node underneath. By providing this upgrade to LNURLP, we're eliminating the requirement for self-hosted nodes to actually run web servers and have dedicated IPs. Nostr Relay already does all of that. We can also slipstream it into existing LNURL infrastructure and make Lightning addresses trustless. Currently, there's a few solutions out there offering Lightning addresses to self-hosted nodes, but at the end of the day, you don't know what invoice they're going to serve from their web server. By upgrading to NIP69, Lightning addresses flag a connection upgrade that transports the invoice completely over Nostr. Because Nostr is signed and encrypted, this makes us completely trustless. NIP68, on the other hand, is the inverse. It provides a protocol for requesting a payment being made by a remote node. This differs from NWC in that the UX of NWC requires a user to create a key, rules for that, and then fumble that key back over. Whereas this protocol is allowing a service that maybe has a key with a reputation to send that request and the user in the wallet to accept, deny, or create rules based on that. This leverages Nostr even to a further extreme through its emergence as a social graph and web of trust. By combining NIP69, NIP68 with existing NIPs NIP05 and Lightning address, we've achieved a UX where pairing your wallet to a service is as simple as entering a Lightning address and hitting accept in the wallet. I'd like to announce today that this feature is available for testing in Shock Wallet, and the PR for NIP68 is forthcoming, with the PR for NIP69 available for review now. But that's not all. I'm pleased to announce that we've started work on webhooks for Nostr offers. This will align us with the vision that every business must be a Lightning business and allow for external workflows to be triggered through static Nostr Lightning payments. But wait, there's more. We've obviously been working hard, and there is another announcement I'd like to make. And that is that we've begun to spin up the first nodes in our Nodester cloud offering. If you're interested in getting in line for this, you can download Shock Wallet today, begin to use it, building up cloud credits. And once it is economically viable, you'll have your own Lightning pub, and you can begin to onboard your friends, family, customers, and potentially earn in routing fees through their traffic. This is the easiest way for small organizations to stand up their own sovereign Lightning infrastructure. Now, I've obviously spent today talking a lot about wallet infrastructure, but this is just a small piece of what goes into functional Lightning apps, particularly if we're going to take over global monetary means of exchange. If there's any component to your Lightning app that we can help you with, we're happy to lend our expertise. We also have in development solutions around identity, rich media, and application middleware that leverages Nostr and Lightning superpowers. You can effortlessly pay a few cents to a website as easily as dropping coins in a vending machine. That's exactly where we're headed. And I hope you'll join us. So if you'd like to get in touch, reach out through our website, shock.network, or shockbtc on Twitter. Look forward to talking with you.
Thank you for that. We have one more video coming up from Christopher David, and then we'll take a break so you can get a stretch your legs before we have some builders presentations. Christopher David is somebody that has been a good friend to PlebLab. He's been at PlebLab and then was invited to go and work at Wolf in New York City. Spent some time up there, learned a lot, and now he's back with PlebLab and working on open agents. So I think probably a lot of you in the room are familiar with open agents. If not, it's a lot of the intersection of Bitcoin, AI, AGI, just some really interesting work that he's doing and enabling. How long is that?
Yeah, give me like 1 minute.
What's that song? Everyone is buffering.
Maybe see if anybody has questions. Or maybe?
Yeah, actually. Does anybody have questions? Car, try another one. Actually, let me see if Johnny Ochoa is in the hallway. That might. Yeah, is he? Is he nearby? Let me see. Hang on.
Okay, actually, we're good. I'm just waiting here on 3 megabytes. And I appreciate y'all's patience with this. They absolutely wanted to be here. Just like last minute, the passport stuff gets everybody. So that's what it was with those two. Okay, maybe this is the last one.
Mexico City, buenos dias. I'm Chris from Open Agents. In this short talk, I want to answer for you the question, WTF are AI agents? Why should you care about them? Ooh, there's a button. Tell me now. What does that do? Okay, let's define AI agent really simply with no jargon. An AI agent is a thing.
Right,
Just who cares? It's a thing that makes you more productive by automating work that you might otherwise do manually. Okay, pretty simple. It uses LLMs, it may use a graph knowledge base, there's the technicals of it, but it's just a thing that makes you more productive. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm a developer, and the kinds of things that I do are coding, getting stuck on something, at least as of a year or two ago, Google for the answer, look at Stack Overflow, oh, I got stuck on something, let me figure out what other people are doing and paste that in. Obviously, if you've used ChatGPT at all, you know that instead of doing that kind of Stack Overflow flow, now you can ask ChatGPT. And I began a couple years ago kind of a race of can I outperform or make myself more productive using some other tools than ChatGPT. The first version of this, openagents.com, which is still live at chat.openagents.com, let you choose between a bunch of different models. So when the Claude 3 series came out, Sonnet and Opus were better than the GPT models. So it's okay, do I want to be paying OpenAI $20 a month and Claude Anthropic $20 a month? No, let's just pull those APIs into one interface along with a bunch of other top models and chat with one interface. So there was a time when changing from ChatGPT to Open Agents version 1 made me more productive as a developer. And then Claude Sonnet came out with 3.5 with Claude artifacts. That made me more productive. Long story short, raced to beat them on that, came out with version 2 of OpenAgents, which is live now. You are all welcome to try it. This is at openagents.com. And let's just show you what I do. You might have just seen a talk from Justin from Shock Wallet. I earlier today set up a Lightning Pub in like 20 minutes. And part of what I did was I talked with the repo, the Lightning Pub repo. I said something like, summarize the README. So this is like a kind of like a ChatGPT style interface, except it has tools. So it can actually do a chain of tools. So I'm calling this an agent because it can kind of take a series of long-lived actions over a period of time. And here we've got a nice summary about what ShockNet Lightning Pub does. Okay, it does this and installation options. And so can I show you what I was doing earlier today? I've got the chat over here somewhere. But I did stuff like, help me install it on a Linux VPS on DigitalOcean. And it has all of the stuff. It's like, I don't want to read the docs. Just like, you tell me what to do. So I was just kind of using this earlier today. And it can do more complex things too. One thing I was having it doing was, I was like, what does this let me do? Because this is kind of a wrapper on top of LND. There's some Nostra things it can do. There's some Lightning things it can do. There's some other like unique app-related account systems things it can do. What can it do? I was like, okay. You can say, first of all, like, look at the folder hierarchy and find where there's definitions of ways to control this application via API. Now earlier I had known that there was a proto folder where there was a bunch of these type definitions, but let's just see if it can find it. So this agent is calling the view hierarchy to look at the files in the root directory. It found the proto directory, it didn't have to say it. It went into it, it's looking at these definitions, it's looking at the client definitions, which is where the majority of these definitions of answering my question, where's the ways to control this? Here's all these things, the admin operations, you can add and off apps, ban users, create invite links, user operations, app operations, Lightning Network operations, etc. Okay, so I don't want to bore you with too much technical detail. You don't have to be a developer to appreciate the fact that the kinds of things that I do day to day, which used to be struggle in an editor, code, hit a bug, go search for the answer, copy paste that into my editor, do a bunch of trial and error, that process of iteration is now dramatically faster because instead of me doing a whole bunch of things, I'm able to directly tap into, this compressed representation of all of this knowledge inside of the LLMs. We're using Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and then equipping that with different tools. And you can see here, if I click on the wrench at the bottom, I've got 5 tools enabled of the, 16 or so tools. Most of these are from the GitHub API. But it can scrape a web page if it needs to, but the majority of things that it uses are view file, view hierarchy. So look at an individual file in a GitHub repo, look at a hierarchy of all the contents of a folder in a GitHub repo, create a file or rewrite a file. With those 5 tools, really those 4 tools, the GitHub tools, that's basically all that I do for my day-to-day coding development. I spend about 85% of my time in the OpenAgents UI, 5 to 10% of my time in the GitHub API, troubleshooting if I need to roll back or inspect something, 5 to 10% of my time in an editor. I'm probably 3 times as fast at turning out code that gets pushed to production than I was when I used just vanilla ChatGPT a couple years ago. Now, this is currently in its current form optimized for developers, but I want you to think about this. What I did was I took the work that I do on a day-to-day basis. I found the APIs that I use. So I use GitHub, I use the GitHub API. The majority of what I do is code gen, and then pushing to GitHub. And created tools in here that you can select or not, and equip the agent to do those things. And you can see here, it does a pretty good chain of oh, let's look in here, let's look in here, let's look in here. eventually I don't have write access to this repo, but when I give it this access to my repos, it's able to create an issue, it's able to make edits, and like this is the majority of how I ship code these days, is through an agent doing it that I'm just steering. And so kind of one of the characteristics of an agent is that it is long-lived, that it can take actions over like a time horizon that's longer than just like a single message. And so, the kind of like record of, at least for us personally, the record of like a time window when an agent is taking relevant action is about 90 seconds. So what my usual day-to-day workflow now is like, I'll put a prompt in the chat and I'll say, hey, look at these 5 files. Here's the architecture. Here's what I'm trying to do. And I'll say something and I can literally go AFK. I can go shitpost on Twitter as it goes and loops through. Once it's done, after about a minute, I come back and look at it. I can make tweaks if I need to. But if I got these agents that are like living for 60 to 90 seconds and doing these useful chains. So some of the problems of how that doesn't go all the way is if it gets to be too long, because we're passing all this to the Claude API, it'll eventually like get too long. There's a bunch of like optimizations we're working on now to kind of compress prior history so that doesn't happen, as well as make it so that you don't have to keep copy pasting in new context. But the point is that we've got like an agent that's taking like 1 to 2 minutes of useful activity where I can go AFK, I can come back and be like absolutely wowed by the result that it comes up with. We think that the updates that we have planned for the next few weeks are going to extend that, minute and a half, 2 minute long, to, being able to take actions over multiple hours worth of time frames. What this does as a solo developer is it makes me as productive today as my entire dev team was a year plus ago. It's a lot of extra power, agency, productivity for an individual person. And I mention all of that about the APIs because regardless of whether or not you are a developer, if there are things that you're interacting with on a day-to-day basis, whether that's a CRM, an email service, social media, you're doing marketing, you're doing stuff on LinkedIn, like whatever it is that you're doing, that service probably either has an API or can be like automated in some other way, and that an agent can either replace the work that you're doing or supplement the work that you're doing. Now, in the beginning, I'm sort of like building all of these kind of like developer integrations because these are the integrations that I want as a developer, so I'm kind of scratching my own itch. But the beautiful part of us building this sort of like open and extensible ecosystem, if you were paid attention to our first release, we had this idea of like a plugin system that developers can contribute plugins to. We paid, Bitcoin bounties to like 20 or so developers for writing these plugins. We're gonna be pulling that back into this system soon. But if you have an idea for like a third-party integration that you want to add that we haven't gotten around to yet, you can add that integration in here for your own use, or for when other people use it, you get a little like share of the revenue as Bitcoin sats. We had a proof of concept of that live in an earlier version. We'll be bringing that back into our version 3, which will be starting to roll out next week. So our version 3 launching next week combines, where's my tweet go? The best of our version 1 and version 2 products. You can chat with top models like Sonnet 3.5. The coding agent works directly with any GitHub repo, and you can pay and earn Bitcoin for chat usage and shared knowledge graphs. One of the like powerful things underlying the sort of like next generation of agents is this idea of a knowledge graph, where instead of needing to like paste the context into your agent every time, you're able to kind of have it build up this graph-based representation of whatever corpus of data you're working with. In this example, it's a code base. We're kind of starting with coding agents, but you can imagine the same thing happening for a PDF. This example is kind of an extreme example of, extracting all of the concepts from a PDF, and then like, you can't really see here, but like all of the concepts are like related to each other. And basically this structure of a graph is highly optimized for an agent to traverse it. So instead of just doing basic retrieval augmented generation, you might be familiar with like that's how agents kind of like pull relevant information into the context. This is like a way to more smartly move between, if you ask about a feature that has a commit, 10 minutes ago, it has that linked so it can kind of like traverse and look at what the commit was. It can look at the comments. It can like, situate that within the context of the repo so you don't have to like be adding all this stuff. Okay. All of which is to say is that there's a lot more that can and needs to be done. Still kind of like low-hanging fruit to make agents even better than they already are. These agents, at least the ones that we've had so far, are like extremely powerful, yet also there's a bit of a learning curve. And that's something that we hope to kind of like open up, enable other people to contribute, and enable other people to like earn Bitcoin revenue share to contribute to these. So we'll have more information over the coming weeks of how you can kind of like sign up and help contribute to this. But the basic idea is we're going to be implementing that Lightning Pub. All users, all agents are going to have accounts through that. And you can either load your account with Lightning and pay for agent usage, and or as you contribute, whether a plugin or you are able to sort of like make the data points of any agent usage that you kind of pay for, make that accessible to other people. So if you have some new PDF about some obscure topic that you have your agent kind of learn, you can have other people be able to purchase like that, access to that data from you. So if you're indexing a bunch of like interesting data that people find valuable, you can just, we want you to earn some revenue share from that. Okay, lots more to say about all of this. Just to get back to our definition here, an AI agent is a thing that makes you more productive by automating work. Our goal with open agents is to give you, like by the end of this year, the definitive one-stop shop that like anything related to AI productivity and like having an agent do anything for you. You're going to openagents.com, you're slapping down either a credit card or paying Bitcoin, and you're getting like agent usage that's like transparent and sort of this self-serve platform that a bunch of developers are contributing to. In the meantime, we're working more closely with a few businesses where we're like kind of crafting these custom agents with custom knowledge bases specifically for them. So if you have some like pressing business needs, especially if you're like trying to recruit or pay for developers, we're like specifically building coding agents for people. That's kind of like the thing that we're best at the moment. So I would just say, keep an open mind. A lot of the agents that are out there currently suck, or they're a bunch of hype or demoware or vaporware. It reminds me a lot of like the crypto scene where there's just a lot of garbage and hype. But there is the one core of like beautiful stuff called Bitcoin. And agents are going to be increasingly prominent, we think. So any questions that you have, any desire that you have to learn more about agents in particular, please shoot us a DM. Our DMs are open on X. I'm on Nostr. I don't even know how to tell you how to find me, but I'm on there. As Christopher David. We've got a 125 and counting episode video series as we've like built all this in public. And what else? Stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be rolling out our version 3. Basically go to openagents.com. And by the way, like you can use openagents.com now. Like it freaking works. You can do this, but just it's going to get easier, better, faster, stronger, awesomer. Soon. Thanks so much. Enjoy your conference. See you soon.
All right. You got to love Christopher David. He does not mince words. He's pretty straightforward. Now I'd like to welcome up, before we take our break, so he's just going to talk just a short bit. Johnny Ochoa, our friend from a little bit south outside of Austin, And he's the one I mentioned earlier, who is our chef quite often in the Austin Bitcoin Club meetups, at least once a month, serving up terrific beef. So he's going to mention a little bit about what you'll be enjoying at lunch, and also some history about the company he's been creating and the inspiration for that. So give it up for another entrepreneur, Johnny Ochoa.
Hello, good morning. My name is Johnny. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I'm a big supporter and just fan of PlebLabs. Just a big supporter of mine and a lot of the work that I do here locally in Austin. And just to share a little bit just about like why my relationship with Bitcoin, it's not really anything to do with finance or money or anything like that. What's drawn me to Bitcoin and what's really kind of helped me is just the community, just like people like all of you that showed up today. And I've done probably about 30 events across the United States with various Bitcoin clubs. And just the health and wellness aspect of it, and just the kind of the mentality that goes behind people that are in Bitcoin is what really drives me. And just a lot of the farm to table projects that I have in Austin, Bitcoin has really been the biggest supporter of that and helped me grow that. And that's why I'm here today. And you know, CAR and a lot of other groups have supported me in the past, and that's why I'm glad here to provide just a clean wellness food for you guys for lunch. So today we'll have some tacos out of sirloin, mostly picanha, so it's got a lot of nice little fat in there. And just like with the food that we make, with the nonprofit that we have in Austin, Texas, we call it Farm Road 369. And just the base behind it is that we don't use any oil, we don't use any sugar or any kind of items off the shelf. We essentially just use animals off a farm, vegetables that we grow, and then salt and vinegar, and that's about it. And that's just the idea of just taking it back to the way people used to eat about 200 to 300 years ago. So that's what you'll kind of be enjoying today. And I feel that really coincides with just how Bitcoin wants to take, you know, just false money out of the equation and just give people the power back to their life. And that's what we're doing through food and with Bitcoin together. So I just appreciate everyone who's here today, and I look forward to talking with you one-on-one later on throughout the day. We'll be here all day. And we'll have an amazing meal this evening as well. Thank you guys so much. And like I said, I look forward to meeting everyone and just talking to everyone throughout the day. Thank you guys so much.